Hello and welcome to the Horror Hangout, a podcast where film fans watch the best and worst horror movies of all time and talk about them. My name is Andy Conduit Turner. Hello, everybody. It's been a couple of weeks. I'm joined by a very, very special guest today in Ben's place, who is taking a week off this week. It's Nico Bell. Hello, Nico. How you doing?
Hi, good. Thank you so much for having me.
Oh, you're very, very welcome. I actually have a little. Ben's given me a lovely write-up about you. Feel free to expose any lies that are written here. But according to what's written here, you are an author, editor, and book reviewer, and your Twisted Haunted House novella, Open House, will be released on June 23rd this year.
Yeah, it's going to be on June 15th this year.
Oh,
So a little
forward.
bit earlier, which is totally fine. But yes, all of that is true. I am a horror and sci-fi author, and I edit and put out anthologies as well, and I review books, and I've been doing it for quite some time. And I'm really excited about my new novella coming out within a month, actually. It's
I
right around
know
the
it's
corner.
almost upon us, right? Well, I tell you what. Before we talk about the new novella, tell me about your history. How did you get started as a horror writer? Where did you begin?
I actually started in romance. And I wrote romance for about 5 years, but all of my characters died terrible, tragic deaths. And it was very obvious that that was not the genre for me. I'm not sure why I explored that. But so I moved into horror, and that felt much better. I've always been a fan of the spooky and the psychological thrillers and things like that, and diving into that world of darkness. Dark versus light has always been a fun theme to explore. And my first book was through Unnerving in the Rewind or Die series. Well, it was called Food Fright. And that is a book where food comes to life and seeks revenge. So I had a lot of fun with that.
Yes.
And
Oh, I
I've
mean,
just been,
already a big
yeah,
fan of that.
yeah, that was great. I was always really excited to get to work with Eddie Generous. He's great if anybody ever has a chance to work with him. And then, I've been really lucky. I've had another book published through D&T Publishing called Beyond the Creek, which is a book about a young woman who's trying to start over and get a fresh start in a rural town in Virginia. And she ends up sort of being hunted by something that lives in the woods. We'll leave it at that. And I've also been really lucky to do some anthologies, like me and Sonora Taylor have published Diet Riot, a fatter punk anthology, which is a fat positive horror anthology. And me and Roxy Voorhees co-edited Mine, which is a body autonomy horror, and it's a pro-choice anthology charity work. So that's where what I've been doing for the last handful of years.
Brilliant. And obviously, you've just given everyone listening along here a big boost to their reading lists. So
Yes.
we've got some catching up to do by the sounds of it. But if anyone is a fast reader and can get through all of that before we get to June 15th, Open House will be out. So tell us a little bit about this.
Yeah, so this is about a young man, a young realtor who's about to make his millions. But as he's doing his open house at the end, a mysterious woman comes in and she ends up kidnapping him and trapping him in the home that he is supposed to be selling. And the only way he can get out is by revisiting the skeletons in his closet from his past. So it's a bit of a twist on a haunted house story. It's very quick. I think it might technically be a novelette, word count wise. So it's a pretty fast read, and it's just a bit of escapism and fun. So I hope people can enjoy it, and
Brilliant.
hope people like it.
And so obviously we have a release date, and where will people find that nationally, internationally? Are you just hard copies? Are you soft? Are you digital downloads as well? Where are people going to be best placed to come find that?
Yeah, I think as far as I know, Amazon is going to be the number one place for paperbacks and ebooks. And it's through Psychotoxin Press, and they're online everywhere at Psychotoxin Press. So you can always check them out and follow all of their great publications as well.
Amazing. Well, everyone has their homework. Go and check those out if that sounds like your kind of thing. But now we've done the important work part. Let's talk about you as a horror fan, Nico. Where does your horror fandom lie? Are there any subgenres that you love in particular? Where did it start for you? One of those kids who was down at the video shop, or where did you fall into it somewhere else?
No, I was pretty scared of a lot of horror when I was little, but I loved vampires, and that was my gateway. Brad Pitt, an Interview with the Vampire in my tween years, that was definitely like a big influence. And, Queen of the Damned and all of those movies and books was really my gateway into it. And then as I got older, I really got into like camp and comedy horror and psychological horror. And I mean, it's really just evolved from there. But when I was a kid, it wasn't really something that I gravitated to that much. I read like Goosebump books more because my friends were doing it, but everything just scared me back then.
I
So
was
it
about
took a
to
little
say,
while to find something I was comfortable with.
I'm not going to be speaking to an author whose debut story was called Food Fright, and you not have any goosebumps in your past, surely.
Yeah. Those books were really intense. I still remember some of those stories. They stick with you.
Yeah, R.L. Stein has a lot to answer for.
Yeah, right? The nightmares of like every 8-year-old.
Yeah, for sure. And also the magic of those book fairs when you're at school, right? Those are the ones you go seeking out. Sure, there are lots of
Oh
other
yeah.
books there as well, but those were the ones that you gravitate towards, even if you did find them scary. Like, kind of want to look at these like forbidden texts.
Yeah, for sure. For sure. Yeah, definitely. Me and my friends read all of them. Yep, definitely.
Amazing. So let's talk about. I mean, we've got you on here this week because, of course, you have Open House, a haunted house story. We wanted to cover a, a haunted house story, although, as Lynn Shay herself says, actually, sorry everybody, it's not the house that's haunted, it's your kid. Ugh, worst. Getting rid of a house is quite difficult, but getting rid of a kid,
Oh,
more,
so hard.
more
Yeah.
difficult still, I would
Yes.
say. Even if they are comatose.
Yeah, for sure.
But yeah, we will get all into Insidious because, of course, the other reason this came up is that Insidious is about to have its now. Should have really counted this. I believe its fifth entry is about to come out. Um, what's your? I mean, we've talked about it off mic, but it was a new one on you, right? This is a new entry to this series.
Yeah, I definitely thought when we were talking beforehand about what haunted house movie, I definitely thought we were watching Sinister because I definitely got the two confused. The Ethan Hawke one. Like I pulled up this one and I was like, that doesn't look like Ethan Hawke, but I recognize that image. Like I remember when Insidious was in movie theaters and things, and it being a big movie of the time. So this was my first time watching it. I can't believe I've never seen it, but for some reason, I just was not on my radar. I guess as
It
things go
feels
on.
like it feels like a series which is obviously continued. We're several entries in now, but it
Yeah.
feels like I'm not sure if it's the shared casting of Patrick Wilson. Did it sort of become The Conjuring, which kind of, and also a similar creative team behind those as well? We've got some shared DNA with the writing and direction that we see there, and writer guest star as well. We'll come to that, but it's been a long time since I've seen Insidious, and I've definitely seen the direct sequel. But I think that's it for me. Those of you who've been following recently will know, of course, that when we get into these situations where I watch an entry in a long running series, that I sometimes find myself having to then go through and continue. I know it's at very least true in the UK that the first three are on Netflix right now. So guess what I'm doing tomorrow?
Oh, nice. Yes. This was not free. I did have to rent this one, but it was I still enjoyed it. It was fun. And I can imagine the sequels follow the same formula. Although I am curious, I didn't look it up. I am curious to see if anybody dies along the way. So I
Lynn
might
Shay was
add
definitely
a
not very
secret.
well at the end.
Yeah. Yeah, like I am pretty curious to see what characters are still living as this goes on. So I might keep that a secret and watch them,
I don't know
once.
how long it continues. I know at least the follow up follows on directly from this one, but then I think it takes a detour afterwards. But with the new movie, we're going back to this family again,
Oh, okay.
where the
Oh,
little
okay. All right.
yeah, I believe the synopsis of the new one, we covered it in the news a few weeks ago. It is about our little boy, our troubled youth, old Dalton. He's off to college at this point now. So he obviously does well enough that he gets to college. It doesn't disrupt his education too badly. He makes it through. He gets in.
Yeah.
But it looks like old Mr. Redface is up to his tricks again. So we'll cover what happens in the story, but first, let us dive into a little bit of horror news, shall we? I think it would be remiss of me not to open with the big news from not only horror, but I think a lot of things around the entertainment and movie world at the moment is that the Writers Guild of America have voted to go on strike for better pay, better conditions, better relationships with AI, ongoing rights in a streaming world. There is a lot to unpick in this one, and
Yeah.
it's going to affect, I think, entertainment for my goodness. I mean, how long did the last set of strikes were in 2017? No, earlier still, right? It was 2007, maybe.
Yeah, yeah, I remember when that was going on. Yeah, I think you're right. I think it was somewhere around there. Yeah, yeah, it's interesting hearing the stories that are coming out of that. A lot of the writers are talking about their experience with the streaming services and to see like how bad it is behind the scenes. It's pretty eye-opening, because writers don't make any money. Nobody makes any money in writing. It's $1 billion industry and we're making pennies. Every writer is making
Mhm.
pennies. So it's you think like, oh, Hollywood has money. Surely those writers can at least pay their rent. And then you hear all these stories like, no, they're not making anything either. It's crazy.
And from an international stage as well, obviously, it's the Writers Guild of America that have voted to go on strike, but obviously the conditions that they're particularly rebelling against are fairly standard, certainly for anyone working in writing circles for television in Australia. The UK doesn't have a fantastic record of that as well. People working for daily rates and so on as well. And then I think it's a really interesting case with some of the additional non-financial side of things as well, like looking for assurances of how they'll be working with AI in particular. And I think that's touching on a lot of creative communities. The art communities are looking at that, the writing communities in general. We know a lot of people that work in, um, anthology publication, that, our team behind the other stories and other audio formats as well, looking at being bombarded with AI generated submissions
Yeah.
and so on. I know a lot of places have had to stop accepting submissions until they work out a way to really eliminate work which cannot be copyrighted for anyone's work because of the way that those systems operate at the moment.
Yeah.
Um, I suspect it's going to be something that's going to carry on for a little while. And for those of you of an appropriate age to remember what happened last time we had a writer's strike like this, we got Transformers Revenge of the Fallen, we got Heroes Season 2, we got Quantum of Solace with, reports of Daniel Craig having to write his own dialogue on set because no one was allowed to work on it otherwise. And I think people, those films and other examples aside, kind of really suffered for the situation that
Yeah.
they were put in. And we're already seeing reports of some things that we don't know will have ultimately been affected yet, but other things that we strongly suspect will be affected. I think Yellow Jackets season 3, for anyone following that, I believe has been placed on hold. I don't think we've seen confirmation of The Last of Us season 2 yet, but you would imagine that there will be a combination of guild writers and people who want to respect those processes as well. The authorship that we have by the creative team of the games behind that as well. It's not something I imagine they would be keen to see moving along. Whether it's been announced or not, you have to imagine there's going to be some impact to anything that people are currently excited for or is upcoming. Anything which basically hasn't already been filmed, anything that's in post production will probably stay as it is, but anything which is about to be filmed or is in the process of being filmed is likely to be impacted. Um,
Yeah.
so for you, Nico, what's the big outcome if you like, if it's a show you're looking forward to, would you rather see it delayed until it goes through, or do you think that people will see it, there'll be a number of things that will continue to come out and suffer for them in terms of quality?
Oh, I'm sure that Hollywood's just gonna push out a bunch of stuff that suffers in quality. They're just a money machine over there, so I'm sure they're not really caring too much about the writers and what they want. But for me, I mean, they should just pay them. There's so much money in the entertainment business. There's so much money out there. It's just ridiculous, the stories that you hear. It's ridiculous that people can't pay their rent and they can't make a living working in Hollywood and doing these things. So, I mean, I would rather everything just shut down and we just don't have anything. Like, let's all just in unity back these writers. And, it would be great if we could somehow, like, everyone just revolt together so that
Yeah.
these people can get the money that they deserve. And it affects everyone, like you said. I mean, writers everywhere, we just don't get paid enough in any industry. And people that own all these businesses are making billions and billions of dollars and getting $1 million bonuses, and it's absolutely absurd
Oh, and the
that,
rest as well. Some of the executive salaries you see from the studios, which have failed to negotiate very well,
yeah,
are obscene amounts of money, right? Like
yeah,
it isn't like, and that's
it's
without bonuses and stock options and all these other things that
yeah,
these shareholders pick up as well. So it's an interesting world, I think, and it is going to be something I think I would think twice about anything that does continue now as to how you support that. And you don't want to be unsupportive of the other creative people that work on it, but I think there has to be a little bit of solidarity behind it. And personally, when it comes to delays and so on, I don't know about you, but I'm not short of old stuff that's already out that I haven't seen or read
yeah,
or played or what. Like, there's no shortage of stuff, and I really do think that supporting the people that are working on this and that are striking now will impact everything else. Whether your thing is TV and movies that are impacted directly or right now, or is it video games? Is it books? You look at these other things. I don't have the name in front of me, but I know that there was a studio, like a publisher that was working with AI that feels they're going to be able to release 500,000 books a year with,
yeah,
you know,
yeah,
with
I'm
with
aware.
AI generative work. Don't know about you. I don't think I've got time to read 500,000 books.
Yeah,
I don't know. Yeah,
yeah. Yeah, there's a lot to unpack with all of that. And I know that, like, the executives in one of the big streaming industries told the writers that they're just going to use AI to write scripts during the strike. And then when the strike is over, they'll get writers to rewrite the AI scripts to make them more human or emotional or whatever. And the writers are like, we're definitely not doing that. So
yeah,
yeah, it's gonna be really interesting, I suppose. But just pay people what they're worth. It's not a hard concept. Just pay
yeah.
people what they're worth.
And also turning what is, I think, fundamentally a piece of art, telling a story, writing a story, it's an art form. And to really sanitize that and turn it into just pure content that a machine has developed.
Yeah.
Um, Writing is my main, like, my job, both like for fun and for what I do 9 to 5 as well. Like, not even so much as that thing, like a threat to what I do professionally. As an audience member, I'm not interested. Like, I don't like, by saying something is generated in that fashion, guarantees to me. And people already say, well, there are no new ideas and whatever. But if something is literally made by crawling existing ideas and being made to imitate something which already exists, I now know, officially speaking, that at a scientific level, there is nothing new for me to do that. So why would I engage with
Yeah,
it? Why would I certainly give any money to it?
that's a good point. Absolutely.
Yeah.
Totally agree. Yeah.
Well, so basically, both horror related media content, watch out, everybody, but also real life horrors. Business is terrible. So do watch out.
Yeah, for sure.
Other than that, let me have a quick scan to see if there's anything else on our news feeds right now. I think that was, I mean, a lot of things are influenced by that piece of news today. I think that's our main piece of news. Oh, Stranger Things, just scrolling through and seeing
Oh
what all
yeah,
things
they're
mentioned. So Stranger Things will have
postponing.
been impacted, right? They've already officially been delayed, as far as I'm aware.
Yeah. Yep. They stopped production, I think, of season 5. So yeah.
Yeah, just scrolling through here. Like, most things I'm seeing are related to everything that's been delayed. So that is going to be a hugely dominant force when it comes to anything that's in production right now. So watch this space, everyone, for more news on that one. So we'll move on to what we have been watching. So typically Ben and I would get together and we would talk about what we've watched in the last week. Nico, it's your first show with us, so don't feel obliged to look at the last 7 days. What sort of horror content of any format have you been absorbing and enjoying recently? Anything you'd recommend?
I just watched Soft and Quiet. Have you heard of that
No,
movie?
no, no. Tell me.
I had not heard of it either. It's on Netflix right now and it's a Blumhouse production, but it's very different than what Blumhouse usually puts out. And if you look at the trailer, it specifically does not tell you what this movie is about, like the premise of this movie. And I won't spoil it. Like you should go in blind because you'll know in the first 15 minutes what it's about. But it is harrowing and intense and it sticks with you. And it's like a social commentary type horror. We'll kind of like leave it at that, but oh my goodness, is it incredible. And it's shot in like what they said real time, so it's shot in one continuous shot
Oh
the
wow.
entire time, which was insane. It's insane just technically how it was done. It's a really brilliant movie. It will stick with you. There's some trigger warnings there. I don't know if people, I really do recommend going in blind, but there are some really hard scenes for sure. Yeah, that's definitely one that I watched. It reminded me of that Danish horror movie where the couple, it's like a polite horror where the couple goes on
Oh,
vacation.
was that Speak No Evil?
Yes, yes. It has that same effect to you. Like
Okay.
that movie like terrorized me. I will never be the same after seeing that movie. And Soft and Quiet sort of has that same vibe to it. So,
Well, it's officially
yeah.
on my watch list. It's been added.
Yes. It's a good one for sure. That's definitely something that I would recommend. If you're in the mood for something intense like that, that's a good one.
Yeah, something disquieting. Okay. Brilliant. I have a couple that I will list off. So this is the benefit. I say benefit, the curse. Being away for a couple of weeks, but I've got a few things to catch up on. So since we were last together, everybody, um, we did I Spit on Your Grave a few weeks ago. Speaking of harrowing, and I mentioned that I'll sometimes be inclined to go through and catch up on a series. So whereas the original I Spit on Your Grave went unsequelized for a number of years, its 2012 remake did get a number of sequels, namely I Spit on Your Grave 2, I Spit on Your Grave 3, Vengeance, and I Spit on Your Grave, Deja Vu, which is a cast carry on from the original 70s. So um, the original lead of the first film has come back in like a legacy sequel that has occurred a few, literally a follow up all those years later. Um, Very very difficult. I Spit on Your Grave in itself, one of these like assault revenge movies. They have they can be quite powerful movies. They can be quite interesting movies. Are they necessarily things that you would watch for entertainment and pleasure? I would debate that. You'll hear Ben and I believe Amber having a good conversation about it. It might be Vanna, apologies. Yeah, there are some interesting things to take from that. Once you get into those sequels later, arguably they don't necessarily have those same. They lose the same power and the same message, and the quality suffers with the messaging in there. Um, I shouldn't laugh at such a harrowing film, but there was one in particular I was taken out of it. It's the first sequel, so I Spit on Your Grave 2, where obviously some harrowing things happen in this film, but then is slightly undercut by the fact the way the delivery comes, that when our main character finds out that not only has she been attacked but is now in Bulgaria and seems more upset of the fact from a performance point of view that she has been taken to Bulgaria, which is not that bad, really. It's but yeah,
Worse, I mean, right?
there are worse places you could be. It's definitely less harrowing than everything else that's happened to this poor woman. But yeah, it ramps up the revenge. It reaches kind of TV movie levels in some cases, but you know, films that I would argue didn't necessarily need sequels. I think if you want the idea, you could get it from the original, the remake of that one. But then we had some big releases. I caught Evil Dead Rise. Have you caught up with that one yet?
I'm saving it for
Oh,
like a weekend watch, for like have a weekend watching party.
no
Is it
spoilers
good
here,
though?
but it was great. It's really good.
Oh, I'm
Really
sure.
good. I mean, I think Evil Dead is, for me, it's been a really solid series throughout. I was a big fan of the 2013 Legacy sequel as well, and it really I thought Evil Dead Rise really delivered. I think it's a lot of fun. It's an intense watch. I think they do a great job of, it's not just the bit, oh, there's a monster here and it could punch my head off. Like Evil Dead has a great tradition of doing things with quite mundane household items. And you could be like, oh, I could imagine hurting myself with that. And it would, in an accident, and I could imagine how that would feel. And it would be deeply unpleasant. Yeah, Evil Dead Rise is great. Ben did an entire episode of it while I was in my sick bed. So thanks, Ben. But yeah, that was really good. I also watched Kids versus Aliens.
Hmm.
Have you seen this? This is on, it's on
I've seen it
Shudder
on
now.
Netflix. It's on Netflix here. I've seen
Okay,
the
cool.
preview for it.
Uh, it was a lot of fun. So it's based on it's a short that is from one of the VHS movies originally, where some kids are filming a home movie and then some aliens invade. It's extended out into a full movie. It's a lot of fun. Some kids who are like, again, they're filming some home videos and then aliens come down and it's expanded. It's got like almost a trauma-ish feel to it on occasions. It's gory, it's over the top. A good pairing with have you seen Slashback?
No. Mm-mm.
Both good. Slashback is like it's in Alaska, based with some native Alaskan kids facing off with some sort of aliens in that one as well. A good a good pairing on that one as well. You could watch the two both together. Certainly in the UK, they're both on Shudder now, so worth checking those out. It's a lot of fun. If you enjoy things like Psycho Gorman, Turbo
Ah,
Kid,
yes, that was
you
a
will
good one.
you'll enjoy that as well. Then last couple to rattle off, I watched We Need to Do Something, also on Shudder. Have you seen this one, Nico?
I have seen this one,
What
yes.
did you think of it?
Loved it. Did
Yeah,
you like it?
yes, I
Yes,
did.
okay, it was
Like
fun.
a
I thought
good, like
I was
trapped in
great.
a bath.
Oh yeah.
The
Yeah,
poor
I
little
mean,
brother.
yeah. Oh, I know. I know. That was so sad. Oh, but I mean Max Booth the third, I mean, he's like a brilliant writer, and it was such a big moment in indie publishing, like when he got to make this movie. It was like one of our own, like got promoted to the big leagues. Like we were all so excited for him. And then to see it come to life, like I think it just came together perfectly.
Yeah, really well performed as well, particularly by the lead. I'll have to pull the name so I can really make sure I've properly name checked them. So it's Sierra McCormick as Melissa, the daughter. Fantastic, fantastic
Yeah.
in this. Yeah, it's a
And
fun.
Ozzy has a little voice acting in there.
Oh,
I
really?
won't spoil his little voice, but the one object that speaks was Ozzy's voice.
Oh, amazing. Yeah, that was
Yeah,
a
you
lot of
could look
fun.
that little bit up.
A little bit of trivia there, and then my last two, I finally got around to seeing Renfield. So Nicolas Cage as Dracula. What more do you need? It's a lot of
Oh
fun.
my gosh, brilliant.
Yeah, a lot of fun. Nicholas Holt, Nicolas Cage. It's a good, fun, entertaining. It's a nice streaming service movie. It's on VOD now. You can rent it at home already. It's got a fairly short turn at the cinema. But yeah, it's
That was
exact.
perfect. I have no notes on that movie. It was brilliant.
Yeah, it was just a fun,
It
just
was
a
so
fun
fun.
time. And then finally, I also watched, not one to miss out on these things, I caught up with some Giallo. I watched last week's movie as well, Tenebrae. Have you seen that? How are you on the Giallo movies, Nico?
I don't think I've seen that. It sounds familiar though.
Oh, it's Dario Argento. It is classic like Giallo vibes. It has a murder mystery element to it. It has the over the top gore. We have a killer that
Of
you never
course.
see, just see the hands coming in. 1982, great soundtrack. Um, yeah, it's a lot of fun. Again, last week's episode, anyone who's listened to that will have heard a whole discussion on it already. I have not much to add other than I enjoyed it. It was good, and I need to catch up on some more Giallo stuff now because it has such a nice, not nice, has such like a unique
Yeah.
visual style about it, and I'm really found myself drawn to the mystery angle of it. So more Giallo
Cool.
movies to catch up on. But that whistle stop tour of my last couple of weeks, all this time laid up in bed with the flu, I had a lot of time to watch a little bit of stuff. But all of those things done. Any other movies you want to talk about before we talk of the movie of the week?
No, nope. I think I'm good.
In that case, let us plow straight in and we'll talk about the movie of the week. So, Insidious. Let me just bring up our synopsis here. We can do a read of this. So, Insidious is a 2010 horror movie directed by James Wan. It's not the house that's haunted. A family discovers that dark spirits have invaded their home after their son inexplicably falls into an endless sleep. When they reach out to professional for help, they learn things are a lot more personal than they thought. It stars Patrick Wilson, Rose Byrne, Barbara Hershey, Ty Simpkins, Lynn Shay, Leigh Whannell, however you prefer to say it, Angus Sampson, Andrew Astor, and more. On IMDb, the good folks over there have given it a 6.8. On Rotten Tomatoes, it has a 66% critic score and a 62% audience score, and the Metascore is 52%. It has a 33.2, on Letterboxd, and here are some choice reviews. So Jay gives it 2.5 stars and says, "Just throw the damn kid away." Amaya says 4 stars. That funky demon is just listening to my man Tiny Tim and sewing adorable doll costumes. Let him do his thing. Warren Wilkinson says 4 stars. Every hair on my body is still standing on end. I think there should be a health warning on this fucker. And last 3.5 stars from Chris Evangelista. So 3.5 stars. All movies should have a title card like this one with the title in huge red font as the soundtrack blasts a billion violins.
That's fair. I like that one.
Yeah. I feel like this film you can see the filmmakers behind it. So it's a James Wan movie, not his first horror movie, but written by Leigh Whannell as well of Saw fame and so on as well. And you can see the creative strings in this one. I feel like both of them have moved on to other things since Insidious, but a bit like when you watch me talk to Evil Dead already today, we've already invoked its name. When you see like a Sam Raimi movie, there are very distinct things that you can see that's a Sam Raimi thing. I think both Leigh Whannell and James Wan, their fingerprints are all over this movie, right?
Yeah, for sure. I mean, it was a lot of fun. I think those ratings are pretty fair. I consider this movie, very much like The Conjuring and that world and the Sinister. I consider it kind of like a jump scare type of horror. Not necessarily overly gory, but just like spooky and atmospheric and very tense. And for those type of movies, I think it fit in really well. I think it did its job. It definitely
Yeah.
startled me. I mean,
Yeah, I think this is an interesting one. Like, I think you've nailed it. Like, it's not particularly, in fact, it's not gory at all, right? I think there's very little, there's no real bloody injury. There's very little minimal physical injury that's in it. But it's an intense watch in terms of a shocking visual. The violin sting and the jump scares are high. It's a shame Ben couldn't make it today. Actually, I know he watched this one with his daughter, who is 13, and she watched it.
Oh, 13. Oh,
yeah. But I think that's probably a good. I have to pull up the rating. I guess it's a 12A in the UK over here. So you could go and see this as a 12-year-old by yourself or with an adult if you're younger. I think your mileage will really vary based on what kind of a person you are and how scared you are as a kid. But you're right. I think this, if I'd watched this younger, I think this would have been one that could have been a good entry to horror because it's serious and it takes itself seriously and it's scary, but there isn't incredible gore or violence in there. Like it's not like a Saw or something like that, right?
No, it's more like disturbing images, and there is some blood, but it's not, I mean, it's just a couple of scenes of blood like on a bed sheet or something
Yeah,
like
like
that,
bloody
you know.
handprints, right? Or
Right. Yeah. It's definitely more startling, I would say, than anything. Although if I watched this as a kid, I probably would be very scared of like a demon possessing me in my sleep. I would
yeah.
probably stay up very late,
Oh,
never getting any sleep.
I mean, we'll come to it shortly. Like it's all about like astral projection and so on that comes out in this movie. And now I think the second in a dream, if I'd been in any way suspicious that I'm in astral, I'd be the most boring astral projector in the whole world. I would have stayed within arm's length of my body every night. I mean, no, getting back in case those demons come back in.
I know, as soon as you know there's a threat of demons, like,
Yeah.
nope,
Oh, no,
not going any further.
they can tell the second you're away from the second you're away from your body as well. That's when they know that I can sniff it out and they can try and take your
I know.
place.
No, thank you. Not for
Yeah,
me. I don't mess with demons.
no.
Just certain things. That's too spooky.
I mean, I don't know what that demon wanted to come out anyway. It looked like he had a pretty good setup in the further.
Oh, really? I think they all kind of had a good setup. They were, living out their weird, creepy, dark realities
That
over and
ghost
over
family was
again.
just watching TV. They're all right.
Yeah,
Maybe the
I
writer's
mean,
strike was on. They were like, "What the
I
fuck?"
mean, they're all just living in the dark, being all creepy and, insidious. Like, what, why do we want to come back? What are they going to be doing?
Yeah,
Yeah.
I feel if you were a ghost or a demon, that'd be a big adjustment. I'm not sure because you've been in a timeless void for so long. Imagine all the admin you'd have to do coming back to life, taking over that body of a boy. Just go to
Oh my
school.
gosh, yeah.
Oh God.
Yeah, exactly. Like, who wants to go through school again? Are you crazy? You're a demon with all these incredible powers, and you're going to be sitting in like math class? Like,
Yeah,
come on.
yeah.
No.
Because there's no way. Because you're going to have to keep a low profile. Because you're not going to be a good enough demon that's like, oh, I take over the world now. I guess no. You're
Yeah.
going to get either imprisoned, boring, or just having to like keep it keep it on the down low and just be a demon, you know,
Yeah.
on the quiet and have to do. Imagine that you're a demon, you got all this stuff, and you're having to do homework. So, but I don't want to read Treasure Island and write 2,000 words on it. I'm sorry, you're gonna have
Yeah.
to.
You got to keep up the facade, right?
Yeah, you're gonna
Like,
have to.
yeah, if you're going to possess someone, first of all, possessing a child seems like poor planning. Like,
Yeah,
you got to think that's not going to work.
because
You
even if
got
you've
to
got
mention
super
someone
demon
else.
strength, right? Because I later on a couple of guys get punched by a demon. Like you can't make a child supernaturally heavy. So at some point, someone's going to dogpile that kid,
Yeah.
and they'll be like, oh, and they're
Probably.
like
Yeah.
captured.
Yeah, and then you're stuck in a kid body, so you're stuck there for a long time, decades,
Yeah,
before you can, go back into your plane and start the whole thing over again. Yeah, I don't think he was thinking long term. Not a
and
very smart
when you get
demon.
back there, when you get back to the further, things might have changed.
Yeah,
You're going to be
for
out of
sure.
sync. And who's this guy? Like
I know, right?
you know when you leave, you know the leather jacket man that lives outside your red door. You know the family that is just ghostly milling about. You know the little boy who has a little runabout to tiptoe through the tulips. You get in there. There's loads of new people around. Neighborhood's
Gotta
changed.
establish yourself again as like the head demon. Who knows if they're gonna accept you? Yeah, obviously he did not think this through.
Oh, and of course, like, what if at some point you might get back to the further as that demon guy, and then other ghosts that have died since the Phantom Menace has come out of there. Beforehand, you go, oh, it's used. I'm not Darth Maul. Please don't. You're really undercutting how scary I am by
That
pointing
would
out
be a
someone
good
from pop
sequel.
culture.
They should add that to this franchise. I would watch that movie.
Just him going, oh no, things have
I know.
changed. I should have thought about what I really wanted.
Exactly.
So where do we begin? Looking at here, the synopsis here is married couple. Josh and Renee have recently moved into a new home with their sons Dalton and Foster. I tell you what, MVP Foster, just a normal boy. Poor kid.
What's even his point? Does he have more like action in the other sequels? Like, I
I
thought he was
don't
gonna
remember.
die and that was gonna set things off. Like, he wasn't even really necessary.
He did get a certificate at school, which probably went undersold.
Yes, that's true. He did. Yeah,
He's just a good little boy. He's like, oh, I I've won a spelling certificate at work, but I'm not at school. But I'm not going to make a fuss because my brother's in an endless coma.
I know. Can you imagine being that poor kid, the kid whose brother ends up being possessed by demons and going to the further? Like, you're just never going to live up to that
And you're the
legacy.
middle kid because there's also a
Oh,
baby.
that's true. Oh, that's so sad now that I'm thinking of it. That poor
So
kid.
Foster's just there knocking out.
Yeah.
So he's probably been writing words like Insidious and Sinister, nailing him every week, and he's got that spelling
Oh,
certificate. And all he did was come to bed and leave the
oh.
certificate on the side. His mum's like, "This is today's date." And he's like, "Yeah, I didn't want to make a big deal of it." Yeah, I love Foster. He's my favorite character. I hope he does all right in the sequels.
I hope so too.
I hope he gets his moment. Oh,
I really hope he does.
can you
He
imagine?
deserves
Like,
it.
if like, oh no, it only works if you spell the demon's name out loud, but I couldn't
And he's like,
possibly. He
I got
steps
it.
up.
It's my
I've
time to
got,
shine.
I've got this done. I've become the spelling master.
I know, right? That would be amazing.
So
His hero moment.
they're up there. They've just moved into a new house. Dalton gives a quick aside where he's like, "Oh, it's me. I'm a sweet little kid. Look at all these pictures of the family. Why are there no pictures of dad?" It's like suspiciously vague reasons. There are just no pictures of your dad. Okay, okay. Um, and obviously, this is the boy who plays Dalton, like one of the generation's like best known like child actors, right? So he's the Jurassic World kid. Is he the Iron Man 3 boy?
Is he? I didn't recognize him. Really? I've
Um
seen those. I just
he's
didn't make that connection.
he's in Avengers Endgame.
For real?
Yeah, he's
Oh
in Iron Man
wow.
3. Yeah. So Ty Simpkins, he is yeah,
Okay.
he's been
Good
all.
for
So
him.
he's been to the further, he's been to a Jurassic Park, and he's Iron Man 3.
Okay.
Is he going to be the new Iron Man? Who knows? He was at his funeral for some reason, so they've kept in touch.
Yeah,
Um,
I will say about that house, like there are just certain houses that I think you should never live in. Like any house that's built in the 1800s is definitely going to be haunted. Any house that has those wooden beams on the ceiling is going to be haunted. Like weird things are going to happen. I was like, as soon as you get into that house, I was like, I think I would have a vibe and I just wouldn't be able to live there.
yeah, you'd
I
think
have
so,
like
wouldn't
rules
you?
about
And
houses.
and,
I'm
and
like,
also,
no,
like you do tell me, Nico, is this a US thing? But are you guys big on just lamps everywhere and not having just a big light that you just switch on and all the
do you not
lights
have
come on in your
lamps?
house?
No, we have lamps. We have
Yeah.
lamps in like every room. Do you not have
And then
lamps?
we have lamps, but primarily there is like a single switch that I could just press in my house, and then the big light would come on, and then it's
It's
pretty
so
well
bright
lit.
though. Yeah, it's too bright. You
Well, that's
gotta you
because
gotta have your lamps. So,
that's because our
when
con-
it's like
that's because our country is older. A lot of houses here have been, they're good age for having ghosts in them. So around here,
oh,
we've
so
learned
you guys, yeah,
in the
haunted
UK, you need
houses.
to, if your alarm goes off in the night and it may be a burglar, it may be ghosts,
Yeah.
whichever it is, you want minimal light switching on. You don't want to be going around, oh, just put this little I'll
That's
put this lamp I'll put this lamp on that just lights this corner of the room and actually makes the other side of the room spookier until I've got over there
cast
and
more
turned those
shadows.
lights on.
Well, okay, I learned something about UK houses today and their
Yeah,
lighting.
you have to have
And
big
that they're all haunted.
you have
So
to have a big light. Oh yeah, like the country's so old. Everywhere's haunted. I live in
okay.
Scotland as well, which I think is the most haunted part.
Yeah, no, there's just I live in the South and there's a lot of old homes bad down here, like the 1800s they're built and nope, not gonna live in one, never gonna live in one.
No. Or
You
if
can
you
just
do, or
walk
if you
in and
do move
feel
in,
it. Nope.
like if you get a fantastic deal on this one, and the estate agent says, no, absolutely assure you, no ghosts, then make sure you install a big light straight away.
Yeah.
Get in there.
Noted. I will make sure that's a good note for everybody in the US.
Yeah, get your big lights on. It's good for burglars, it's good for demons, go whatever ails you. So whenever you got a spooky nighttime situation, just get them lights on straight away. Don't be like Patrick Wilson going around clipping them all on one at a
One light
time.
at a time. Yeah, yeah.
Um,
Good to note.
but before we get to that wonderful scene of intruder alarm admin, little Dalton, just as a just they're just there, they're unpacking, they're doing like, a nice little day of an evening, and he just goes, ah, spooky attic, I'm gonna go look at there, and he gets just rinsed off a ladder, and he just gets bashed on the floor. I mean, I don't know how he manages to fall, because he falls off the ladder backwards and gets a bump on the front of his head.
Oh yeah,
So
it does. Yeah.
must have really twisted as he fell down there. Um, but um, that's kind of just it, right? They come, so what are you doing? Falling off a ladder? Well, straight to bed then, I guess. No need to check
Yeah,
this head
you
injury.
definitely should not go to bed after getting a head injury. You
Straight to
definitely,
sleep,
that's like the
please.
one thing. Yeah. The one thing they say for sure after a head injury is you stay awake. Like if you have a concussion, you don't want to go to sleep. But we're just
Yeah,
gonna tuck this kid into bed and everything's gonna be fine.
yeah. Took this into bed, please. And then the next day, when he hasn't come down in the morning, like his mum has let it slide quite a bit. Oh, go up and see to him, will you? I don't believe he hasn't got up yet. I'm not concerned in the slightest. I'm just inconvenienced that he's going to be late for school. And
Yeah.
unfortunately, we have lost him. He has gone into a coma.
Yep. Yep. That is true.
And we flash straight to like, hello? Hello, do you want to wake up now? It's like, oh, did let him go to sleep with a concussion yesterday. And then it's like straight to the hospital with him going, yeah, just this doctor just shrugging his shoulders, like, oh yeah,
Oh, right. And he
look,
just like walks away. I
it's
have
like
other things to do.
it's like his brain's fine actually. He's just like, honestly, like, forget anything. If you're worried about the bang on the head, don't actually, because I've done the tests. I've done the has he been banged on the head test, and he's actually all right for that. He's just in a coma for no reason. Anyway,
Yeah.
see ya.
Yeah, that's really what it is. Yep. That's the healthcare system for you right there. The fact that they had him in the hospital for 3 months is really what is the most unbelievable, because they would have booted him out of that hospital like immediately.
Especially when from all we can find out from what that doctor tells us, like, oh yeah, physically fine, just in a coma forever.
Yeah, yeah.
It's
Like,
not actually,
no.
it's actually legally speaking, it's not a coma.
Yeah. I mean, like that time jump was startling to me. I was like, 3 months have passed and
Is it
he's
three
still in the
months?
coma. Like they haven't done anything to him. Like that seemed wild to me.
Not even like banged some pans or like put some bacon on and like tried to wake him up that way.
Give him some like medicine. Can they shoot him with adrenaline like you see in the movies? Can they
No,
like do
unfortunately,
anything?
in that
They were
three
just like,
in that 3 months, you've tried it all. They've had like,
yeah.
people have been telling him jokes. People have been like blowing up a paper bag and like banging it by his ears. All
It's
these
just
things, and that doctor's at his wit's end, and he's like, well, I guess he can come home and just be in a coma forever there. You're not neglecting your other kid, are you? No, no, absolutely not. We're on top of it.
yeah. Yeah.
So yeah, they go home, and then that's when they start having spooky times, and the alarm the most deafening alarm in the world.
Yeah.
To be honest, you could have left that alarm running a bit longer, probably would have got him up. So loud.
Well, it has to be super loud. If you're, sleeping, you have to be able to get up.
You have to deafen burglars.
Yeah. You got to
Um,
startle people. So,
but this is where like, because Patrick Wilson at this point, like, now I actually understand it. It obviously snuck in that this 3 months ago, because it, like, to the untrained eye, if you don't catch on that that 3 months has passed, it feels a bit like, oh god, my kid's been in a coma for a week, and I've immediately just started being a terrible father and husband, because like it's like, yeah, I'm just gonna stay at work forever.
yeah. Yeah, they play up on that a little bit too much, maybe. I mean, that's a really old, like, plot point where, like, the father is, like, absent or he can't handle stress. So he stays away and then leaves the mom. And then he, like, gaslights the mom because the mom's like, something terrible is happening. And he's like, you're overreacting. So, yeah.
Every woman that's had to move into a haunted house ever, like,
Right?
oh
Like, if your wife says that there's a ghost in your house, like, maybe you should try to believe her. I
yeah,
mean,
believe women, Patrick
yes,
Wilson, if you
exactly.
could.
My goodness. Yeah, like he keeps blowing her off and yeah. Although I mean he does move. Like that was a pleasant surprise that they actually left the house and he was like, "Okay, you're scared, you want to leave? We'll leave." I mean, moving is huge. What an inconvenience. So much work involved in that. So I think that was a pretty cool moment. That was nice.
Gets onto the real estate agent. Can you list this, please? Definitely unhaunted house. We're moving for
Yeah.
unconnected reasons. I guess like you could probably sell. You got a good. Oh yeah, they're moving because their kid's in a coma forever. Oh, okay. Because
Yeah.
you could trick the buyers because they're going to be asking questions about that. He's not in a coma
True.
because of a ghost, is he? No. How dare you ask that? Actually,
Exactly.
that's a pretty rude question. Actually, my kid's in a coma. Do you not want to ask me about any ghosts that may or may not be in the house? The alarm doesn't go off
Exactly.
in the night time. No, no, no.
Never. Yeah. Yeah.
Um, and yeah, so Rose Byrne eventually sees she sees her first ghost here when she moves out because we've seen a couple of little images already, right? There's been
Hmm.
one where she goes in the baby cries
Right.
and this is when she has the there's the baby monitor bit where
Yeah.
there's she's playing the music, she's a musician and she's playing the piano obviously in the house with one son in a coma, a baby, and the other one out crushing a spelling test, and she just hears like a little noise on the baby monitor and it's like, and then like I was just getting to the point, I was like, oh, should I put the subtitles on this one? Would this give me a clue? Can we hear what this? I don't think it's meant to be passable, right? You're not meant to know what they're saying. It's just
Probably not. Just something eerie.
yeah, ghost whispering, and then it goes. Once Leigh Whannell and James Wan have tricked you into sort of leaning in and trying to listen hard, that's when it does like a that shouts in
Yeah.
the thing. And it goes,
Which is making it so fun. But like even that moment when she's standing by the steps listening to the monitor, I was like, go upstairs, please. Please go upstairs. Like something is clearly wrong. You're a mom. This is a baby. Go upstairs.
and you
Don't
would
wait
just think
until the thing
you would naturally
screams.
think like a burglar, right, or something like. Oh, there's just
Yeah.
if nobody gets a go there. My wife was watching this with me. She's like, you would have a knife and be straight up the stairs,
Oh,
and
a
then you would leave
thousand
and never go
percent.
in and never go in there again.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, I would never leave my baby alone ever again.
You would be up there, you would do something about it, but no, she has that little scare and goes, oh well, back to it, I guess.
Yeah.
And then it's only she decides she wants to move after the incident we have in the night with the burglar alarm going off, and then she's just like a leather jacket ghost man just lunges at her across the room.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, in fairness, that's the final straw. I can
Yeah,
respect that. That's, she's like, okay, I'm done. But that was pretty creepy too. I enjoyed that. It was a bit of a jump scare when all of that was going on. And I like that they did move. Like I said, it was interesting to me that they put a second location in at all. I just wasn't expecting. But they did that in Sinister too. See, this is why I get these movies all
yeah.
confused.
It's when you move house, in fact, in that one that it gets worse.
Yeah, and
It's
just like in
staying.
this one, like they get worse. So yeah,
So they move house. She confronts she confronts Patrick Wilson about it and said, "Oh, do you want to stop just like sleeping at your desk at work?" Because also there's a scary handprint that the coma nurse like just
yeah,
tucked him
she
in.
like throws like the sheet at him and it has the blood handprint and he just looks at it like bewildered. Again, I think if I threw a bloody handprint sheet to my husband, he would have a different response than just like bewilderment and then moving on. Like a conversation would probably happen, is my
either,
guess.
either that or he wasn't lying. He does have a lot of marking to do, and he's like, "Oh, I'm so
Yeah.
tired."
Like I can't be bothered with this right now. Put
Like
a
I,
pin in it for
it's been
tomorrow.
many years since I did any teaching and grading essays or things like that. But like, you give these kids a topic and they all write about the same things. Like I was teaching English as a foreign language, and the time that Avatar and Twilight were both big,
Oh boy.
I have read a lot of reviews on those two topics.
I can imagine. What
Yeah,
fun.
and that was probably his life. He's like, oh God, all these kids writing about
Yeah. He's like, I don't have time for bloody handprints right now.
like,
I'm exhausted.
please, I have to get all these papers marked. And he's like,
Yeah.
oh, I've got to make sure I've covered all the medical bills. And I was like, I'm not sure that that's how teaching salaries work. Like, only if you've done your marking do you get overtime.
Yeah, in
Um,
America it's very different. Like you hand in one paper and they give you like $5 and then not quite.
so they do move, as you say, and they've moved near to Patrick Wilson's mom, who is very supportive. She's like, oh, like no one knows what you're going through, except she knows exactly what she's going through, but it's not time to reveal that just yet. She's like, okay,
Yeah.
no one can know what you're going through, but you're welcome to stay. We're happy to help you move. Um, the other two kids are not in it for the rest of the film, everybody. So
Is that true? I
they
didn't even
go and
notice.
they go and stay with the mom or a third
Oh,
person. They with
yes.
with or a third person because later the mom comes back into it and the kids aren't there.
That's right.
I'm
That's right.
guessing
That's right.
I'm guessing America's sweetheart Foster's just looking after the baby by himself at this point.
That's right. I didn't even realize that they were gone. See, yeah, what was the point? Why even have why even have them? There were some scares with the baby, but that poor middle kid just didn't get much love or
I
anything.
swear, like it's gonna have to be true that his spelling is gonna have to come in and save the day.
I hope so, so much.
Yeah.
That would
Oh
be
man, I'm gonna
amazing.
have to hurry up and watch the rest of these films to see how he's gonna save the day with his because he's
I
just
hope
like
so.
nothing scary happens to him. He mentions before they moved house that I don't really like the bed because Dalton walks about at night and is like, oh, should probably look into that. Um,
Yeah,
but yeah, basically he's not in it again now. They're
that's right.
they're out of it. Their troubles are over. They're having a nice
Yeah.
time at grandma's house. She's retired, so she's probably got more time to help him with his spellings. Not that he
Yeah,
needs it,
good for
obviously.
him. Yeah.
Yeah, he's just out there doing it.
Yeah. He doesn't have to
Um,
worry about his possessed brother.
yeah.
Yeah.
So they're just there in the new house with the possessed brother, and then Rose Byrne has another encounter where she's doing some laundry. She's put some music on, and unfortunately, a little record skip happens, and instead of the music that she had on, it goes to like ye old timey spooky music,
Yeah, I know, right?
where "Tiptoe Through the Tulips" comes on, and there's like a little Victorian boy, or like just he does look like a little Victorian boy. So
Yeah.
know,
Yeah, very creepy little kid, of course. A
yeah,
creepy
and he's
child that she's just like, I'll just go see what he's up to. Like, let me just go follow him into this room where there's no exit. We'll just
yeah.
go try to find him.
I think I don't know what's your best defense in this situation. Would you do what she does, which is like she casually, like slowly comes after him, or I feel like, especially if you see it's a little boy ghost, just rage it, like run everywhere to try and like don't give him a chance to hide to jump out at you again.
I mean, I would probably like leave the house, but that's also another approach, just going like full force at him.
Just go,
That's
just
one
go
way to do
real hard.
it.
I'd have gone.
Yeah.
I would. I don't know what you do in this situation. Maybe try and like do things that make your house completely incompatible with being scary.
Yeah, I found the whole thing, like the fact that she could even see the ghost was kind of weird because she's not clairvoyant. Like she doesn't travel when she sleeps.
Yeah, that
So
little boy just like comes, like she moves that thing and he just comes piling out the cupboard and just
yeah,
like giggles and runs off. And she's, yeah,
and she has a breakdown, and it's like I don't know, like why? How can she even see them? I mean, it was just I don't know. I guess we just accept that she can see the
yeah.
ghosts.
I guess it's
So
getting worse, right? So there's spooky little boys about all over the place that they can now see. I think I know he's probably the least scary ghost because there was
oh
big,
yeah, for
there's horrible leather
sure.
jacket man, and
Yeah.
yeah, but this little boy, like he's just jigging about in the house, dancing to his music. Yeah, what you really want to do is find you a house that is completely incompatible with being scary. Like, I don't know, like adopt penguins or something like that. Your house would stink of fish, but I don't think the ghost would be your biggest problem there.
Yeah. You have to make a sacrifice one way or the other, right?
Yeah,
You have to have like a house that's unhauntable,
yeah. Open a
or you
day,
get a, like a
open,
nice
open like
house,
a
and
open like a doggy daycare. Just fill your house
there you go.
with like just animals. Yeah, just
Yeah.
find ways. Like have no old furniture. Certainly don't have any rocking horses.
Oh my gosh, no. If you buy a rocking horse and you put it in your house, you are asking the ghosts to come. A thousand
No
percent.
rocking furniture at all. If
Oh
you've
my
got any
gosh.
risk of ghost, everything just flush to the floor.
1,000%. Like, how do we not know this
And no
already?
creaky boards. I'd carpet every room.
Yeah, for sure. Carpet every room. Yes. Yeah.
Car-
Yeah.
Carpet every room. Lots of light. You don't want
Yeah.
any.
Lots of light. Yes, established. Yes, bright lights.
Yeah, and oh, and by the way, I'm not playing anything on creepy records anymore. Just get a Spotify account.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, there's just certain things I think you could probably do at that point,
Yeah,
for sure.
just to make your life slightly less creepy.
Yeah.
But this is the point where the mom comes in and says, "Yeah, oh, actually, I've." The mom actually turns up and says she had a dream about it. Oh, yeah, I mentioned that no one knows what you're going through. Not only do I know, because Patrick Wilson, aka Josh, said, "Oh, this happened in the past, in fact, and I had a dream that there was because the mom is also slightly clairvoyant just for this scene,
Yeah.
and says,
True.
I tell you what, I was having a dream the other day, and I dreamt to come around your house, and I stuck my head in the bedroom door, and Dalton in his coma there was a fella next to his bed. He looked like this picture. Um, well, in this flashback video, she said, "Well, like, yeah, we're standing by the bed," and I said, "Hey up, who are you?" He explained he was a visitor, and he said, "Oh, what were you after?" And he pointed to the kid. So, to be fair, as far as messages from ghosts and demons go, really straight up with it,
Yeah.
actually.
Yeah. 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 I actually, it took me a while to even figure out she was the mom. Like, maybe I missed when they told me that information.
Yeah.
So I was just kind of like, I don't know who she is. I don't know what she's doing. But as soon as I realized that she knew what was going on, it's like, you got to tell them. This is something common in a lot of horror movies. Somebody has key information and doesn't share it until it's way too late. Like, if we had known earlier, we could have gotten into the further earlier. We could have like assessed everything. It wouldn't have been so dramatic,
The
and she
second that kid went
just,
into a coma, I'd be like, oh, it's
oh,
probably.
yeah. Like, how could she not have said it? There's 3 months this poor kid is sitting in a coma in a hospital, and she doesn't think, like, oh, maybe this is something I should say?
Yeah, which I guess she just thought that, as we find out later, when her problem was solved, she was like, oh, like, let's just assume it isn't like that.
Yeah,
Yeah, let's
I
just
don't know.
let's just move on from it. We'll just assume that anything else until it's definitely demons. We'll assume it's not that. We'll assume it's not that. But comes along and basically goes, "Oh, yeah." Funnily enough, I've dealt with this before. I'm going to invite someone. Going to invite someone round because we've already had like the throwaway scene where after the little boy's been there, before the mom interjects with her story, her friend the priest is that maybe he comes back in the
Oh,
sequel
yeah,
as
that's
well
right.
because
The
the friend the
priest.
priest is there and he's just like, oh, thanks for the tea, and then he's gone for the film.
Yeah,
Maybe
that's
he
right.
comes
He's
back in the
gone for
sequel. Maybe he comes back in the sequel because
maybe
he was
so.
like, yeah, thanks for that. Actually, yeah, I'm literally just unless it is just like a big red herring. It's like, oh, they've got the Exorcist around. No, it is just her
No,
friend who happens to be a priest, and he was just calling in for tea.
yeah, yeah, for sure. I mean, I can appreciate that they gave us that little tease. That was kind of fun. Um, but yeah, I liked when we got to see like the little Ghostbusters, like the 2 guys that came in as
Yeah, because he
Ghostbusters.
comes before Lin
That was
Shay
fun.
comes. They
Yes, they
like
come in first.
her like road crew come in first, and that is
Yeah.
writer Leigh Whannell himself.
Oh yeah, yeah. Yeah, I thought that was really fun and offered a little comedic relief, which I thought was necessary at that point.
Yeah,
And, they played into their goofiness, incompetent, competitive
yeah.
natures,
They
which
kind of
was
like
a blast.
have they kind of like have like competition with each other. Like Leigh Whannell's character is into like the written side and the investigation,
Yeah.
and this other guy is the tech guy. And it's like actually the tech's really important, so that's probably the least important. Beg to differ.
Yeah,
Actually, I think you'll find it's the most important.
yeah,
I really like though; it's a nice tonal shift for the film,
it was.
um, and they are adequately convinced after he's got one of those. Now, what are they? They're like the little slide things you get when you're a kid, right? That you hold up to the
Yeah,
light, and he's
yeah,
looking through there and gets. He's basically like a real low tech version of the Predator, where it's like red
yeah.
vision, green vision, and then when he goes to blue vision, horrible ghost gives him a little smile. It's like
Yeah, the little creepy, like twinish, or I don't know if they were twins, but like little like sister ghost or something creepy like that.
And do they have like?
Yeah,
Does one of them have a head off, or is it just that they're
probably, maybe that
just
would
holding a
sure,
head that give her a little
sure.
smile? And he goes, "Yep, actually, I've seen a ghost. So can you
Colin and the big dogs, yeah.
yeah, get in Lin Shay, and
Yeah.
she's ever so nice. She comes along, immediately drops the truth
Yeah.
that she knew Patrick Wilson all along. She's like, I haven't seen you since you were little. Like, you know, don't remember that.
Yeah. Yeah.
Um,
She gets straight to the point, thankfully. I mean, at least we can move that along, you know. She understands the severity of it.
oh yeah, within 2 minutes, she's like, oh, tell you what, this is the deal. She's straight to it. She is the queen of exposition. She turns up and
Yeah,
basically says,
that's
yeah,
true.
so now that I've got you here, actually, um, where to begin? Your son can astral project.
That's great.
Astral projection, I feel like in it's a bit like now in a post MCU world, like with alternate dimensions, I feel like there will come a point where it's going to become tropey and faux pas to explain any of these things. It's like, you know, in the 90s when people still had to explain EMPs in a film. And now, if anyone does it, everyone's like, yawn, we all know what EMPs are. Come on.
Yeah.
I feel like astral projection and multiverses are going to go that way very soon. But in the days of Insidious coming out, 2010, we weren't ready for that. So you would still explain it. So Lin Shay
They
is
were
straight
behind, they were
into it.
ahead of their time for sure.
So she's like, basically, astral projection. We call it traveling. Actually, we've got fun names for everything. It's like a zombie movie where they're walkers or shamblers or something like that. She's like, it's called traveling. And your son's real good at it, actually, because you were as well. We'll look at some photos to do with that in a minute. But for now, just know that he goes away from his body to this place called the Further. Um, and actually, because he thinks it's just a dream, he doesn't think it's that dangerous. But when you're away from your body, basically, like what's happened to him, he's taken a wrong turn while he's out of there, and now he's basically stuck. So his body's
Yeah.
asleep forever. And when you're out of your body, ghosts, tell you what, ever so jealous that you're alive and they're not. So if they sniff you out being away from your body, they're going to Insidious. Oh no, she name drops that in a minute.
He
She's
does,
like,
yes.
they will come and try and steal your body. And they're like, oh no, how do we how do we deal with that? And she goes, oh, actually, it's not him, not them you got to worry about. You've got to watch out for this fellow. He's far more insidious.
Wink, wink.
And that's when it's my background here. Patrick goes,
Yeah.
"What do you mean insidious?" And he turns around, and the spooky man's right behind him. He's like doing a big animal from the Muppets, wide mouthed, like, yeah,
That jump scare startled me. And I knew because I like that image you have behind is like on all of like the promotional things, like with him in the back with his mouth open. And I knew it was coming. Like I know it's coming. And it's still, I was like, oh my gosh.
yeah.
That
And
was probably the biggest jump scare of me when that moment happened, despite knowing that it was going to happen.
that's probably my moment of the film that I remember as well. Like that scene where you see behind his head and he's coming out there, and it's a for again a film and something they use in the trailer, but still managed to be effective in
Yeah.
movie because it's something that's in camera and it's something that happens not in a nightmare sequence. Not it's like in the middle of the day, right when they're just sitting at the kitchen
Yeah.
table.
Yeah.
I think this is
Yeah,
the
you're
part
just
where
like
they
enthralled with it. Like with you're enthralled with her storytelling and her exposition, and then it's like then the jump scare comes. So yeah,
and the
well
guys there,
done.
and this is prime. I think they probably popularized it and made it the big deal it is today before it came tropey and people started trying to avoid it. The sting of the strings that suddenly hit really hard and you get
Mm,
the shocking image that's in film.
yeah.
So we get that, and is this also the point where I think Lin Shay doesn't really dial back on the exposition? She's already explained the Further, she's explained traveling, she's explained Mr. Insidious, and
Yep.
then I think
Miss
we get the pictures as well at this point, right? It says, oh
Yeah,
no, you've
she's going all in. She's like, look, here's all the information that I have that I've been keeping secret for decades. and here we go.
And
Which
this is,
should have been given immediately when they started having children. Like,
yeah,
all of this should have been given immediately. Like, the wife should have known before they had children that she had married somebody who could do this
yeah.
and that it was going to get passed down to their kids.
That should be that should really be a screening thing, shouldn't it? It's like now, this is a matter of choice before you move forward with starting a family. A bit like if you have something hereditary disease
Yeah.
wise in your family, you should know this and you should do your screening beforehand, right? There is a this percentage chance that they'll do astral projection. And
Yeah.
unfortunately, there is a Mr. Insidious that you've got to watch out for.
I think it's only fair. I
Yeah.
think it's only fair so that they know ahead of time, so that they can make plans, they can help this kid.
To be
I
honest,
think
as soon
that's
as their relationship started getting serious, he needed to be enabled with that. Say, look, we've got to make decisions. If you're going to want a family, there is a Mr. Insidious risk of 30%.
yeah, yeah. Which, by the way, too much of a percentage for
Yeah,
me. I'm just saying, we're all different, but like too high, too
yeah.
high.
I guess it depends. Oh, then again, though, it's not just the kid that's affected, is it? Because they're bothering you around the house as well, setting the alarms
Yeah,
off in the night.
yeah,
Pain.
yeah. Messing with your books, messing with your record player, slamming
Oh,
doors. It's a whole
putting
thing.
your sheet music up in the loft and not where you packed it.
I know the nerve, right? I mean, come on. It's just things to, tell your partner at a certain point. I just feel like it's common courtesy. So they should have told him so that he could have told her.
Yeah, and like you think about it, they've really robbed him of an ability. He could have been excellent at astral projecting by now if he'd practiced a bit. But
Yeah.
basically, it shows some pictures that every time as a kid, when the mom, bearing in mind that there was a ghost getting closer, you'd think the pictures that they were taking would be at like really momentous events, not just like here he is in a
Yeah.
park, not really looking at the camera.
Yeah, or like if you knew what was happening and you saw these pictures, like I just feel like you would just have a bigger response. Like, did he never see the pictures? Did she never show it to the dad? She just takes these pictures and hides them. I don't know. But like you could very visually see that there was a ghost and it wasn't like a little blur. I mean, by the end there was a actual like woman in these pictures.
Yeah, to this point where if you didn't think it was a ghost, you'd be like
Yeah,
taking a picture of him with an old woman.
yeah. Yeah, I just think that family is just not good at confronting problems head on. They have to work on that.
So the mom's like, yeah, I just stopped taking your picture actually
Yeah,
because
like problem solved. We just
like
won't take pictures.
yeah, surely you could have used that to your advantage. If she's going to appear and get closer, surely you could take a picture when you had like a frying pan and were like doing it that way. You could like
Yeah.
you could have used it to
I mean, it's the way you can see how close they're getting.
or like
I was also thinking, like, yeah, they
take
could do
photos
that
of
or
him take photos of him like in a church or where the ghost would be captured or
yeah. Yeah, I thought it could be used for their advantage as well. So,
but she's not really
yeah.
thought about that. So all they did was they basically Lin Shaye has done a classic Professor Xavier in that she's suppressed his abilities and made him forget about them in a way that they will never come back to haunt them ever again.
Yeah.
Um,
Sure, why not?
and they just let him move on with his life because this ghost was getting closer to him every time.
Yeah.
But then, if
She was
real life horrors, there is a photo. Now, maybe they've assumed that, oh, geez, this is uncovering a memory. There is a photo of me as a little baby
oh boy.
with this woman who I don't remember. I don't remember who that is. She's not a ghost. She's in it. Um, but there's like a blurry like figure behind us in that picture, and my mom
Mm.
finds the photo incredibly disturbing, but didn't get rid of it. And I've seen it once, as far as I recall, of me being held as a baby with this weird shape behind me and this lady that's holding me in the picture. And it turns out I've been in loads of photos since, and they're not in any of the others. So it's probably just something to do with the photo development process. But my mom
Mm.
finds it quite a scary photo. I don't remember astral projecting, but of course I wouldn't.
Exactly. Exactly. Interesting. Interesting.
We have chosen not to have kids though, so don't worry, we're safe. We're
Not gonna pass it on.
not going to pass it on. No Mr. Insidiouses are going to be around this neck of the woods. Plus, also, as we've discussed, got the big lights. So
Oh, right, exactly. You're right. Big lights, got it. Big lights.
So they basically go through that and say, well, that's it basically. So we can try and bring him back. So they try a seance first.
Oh my gosh, the seance. That was wild. Why was she wearing a World War II oxygen mask? What was it attached to? Why was it necessary? I have questions.
to make it extra scary, basically,
Yeah.
right? Maybe to sneak into the further, you have to trick them into thinking you're an elephant, maybe.
Okay.
Because
that made no sense. I was like, there's no reason she should be wearing this crazy mask. That's wild.
Is it maybe it's like an isolation thing, so she can
to like focus, to like make sure she's like doesn't hear or see anything that's like blocking her senses, or
I think it's
I don't know.
just
She couldn't really see that well out of the little holes. I was like, I
just to
think
be
you'd want
extra
to see.
spooky.
I know, right? Just
She's already had a look at the ceiling fan and described Leigh Whannell, not only a talented writer and a small part actor as well, like excellent speed sketchist.
Oh my gosh, that also had me kind of laughing a bit because I'm like, she can't do two things at once. Like she can't draw and like do this. Like she can't write.
She can only describe.
I know. I was like, man, well, she's not great at multitasking, but that's okay. That's not
I
her
guess
strength.
you've got to justify having an assistant, right?
Yeah. Yeah, but that seance was fun.
Yeah.
It was funny to me.
So she puts on like a World War One almost like spooky
So
long nose mask. Have you ever seen second scariest use of one of these masks? I would say this one might be a UK pop culture thing that you maybe haven't had over in the. Have you ever seen a film called Dead Man's Shoes, Nico?
No.
Worth seeking out. It's not ghosty, but there is a scary use of a mask like that in as well. From our hero character, it's about a man who returns to the town where he grew up. He's been away in the army, and there are some horrible men in the town that have been abusing his sort of like differently abled brother that's there, and he takes his revenge on them, and he like terrifies them and like stalks them and scares them. And there's a bit where one of the baddies is at a house party, and he comes downstairs, and the guy is wearing one of these masks, and he's just standing outside his front door, just standing there silently looking in on him. And the guy tries to be aggressive at first, but then you watch him and he loses his nerve as this guy in this mask just stands completely still and then starts like banging on the door to try and get in. Horrible, even though that man is the goodie in that situation. But yeah, second only to that is Lin Shaye wearing that mask, and she has a chat with the spirits and says, at first she's talking to Dalton, right, in the further.
Yeah, she's talking too loud because he's worried that the ghosts can hear. And then she keeps talking loud, and I felt bad for Dalton. I was like, please lower your voice. Like, you're not in there with him. He's going to have to suffer the consequences of your loud voice.
She's like,
so.
Also, she gaslights him all the way. It's like, she's like, shut up, they'll hear you. It's like, they won't hear me.
It's like, you're not in there with him. Clearly, he knows the rules. He's been there for 3 months. I felt bad for Dalton in that moment, for sure.
But then she hears from Mr. Insidious himself, right? And he's like, it starts off with saying, like, it's Dalton at first going, lost, basically. It's horrible here. But please be quiet, to them, basically Mr. Insidious going, yeah, like, I'm going to fuck you all up.
Yeah. Yeah, it turns real quick. Yeah. He's not a happy demon. No.
Yeah.
He's
and then, Leigh Whannell's having to like scribble it all down super quick. Thankfully, his messages are quite repeated. It's like, yeah, gonna fuck you up, gonna like really wreck shit. And then before you know it, Dalton's out of bed and he's thumping people, he's tossing people around the room. Lin Shaye is like passed out. Yeah, he's all amongst it. He's got super strength. He punches Leigh Whannell across the room.
Yeah. But we find out because when they took the picture or the video and they slowed it down, Mr. Insidious is behind him, like being the puppet master, like
Yeah.
whoosh, making sure his arms move and stuff.
Using his demon strength so you can punch a fully grown man across the room. But thankfully, he's no match for Lin Shaye doing a bit of exorcist stuff. He's like grabs it, goes, "Oh, I command you," Gandalf's him.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, is it really all you have to say to get a demon to leave? Like, I command you to leave this body. It feels like you would need to say something more special, but
Yeah, you need to do what we did earlier on and point out that you do realize if you stay in this body, you're gonna have to go to school tomorrow. It's like,
yeah. Like,
it's like I've got some puppets to finish before I commit to that type of thing, so I'm gone.
yeah.
But with that gone, I'll tell you what, bearing in mind they've got financial problems, they've got medical bills, they've just moved house. They're giving a man with a black eye like a full steak to put on his face.
Yeah, they did. Yeah, they did.
I
I
don't think that's
noticed that
I don't
too.
think that's good for eating anymore, right?
No, I would not eat that. That's gone. No. I mean, it was a thin steak, so I mean, you can get thin steaks at like Walmart for a little cheaper, but still, I did notice that. I was like, they're eating pretty good for having a lot of medical bills.
Yeah, I mean,
Because insurance is not covering that. So,
yeah, and it's sort of set in a contemporary time, isn't it? It's not like because they have mobile phones and he has an iMac when he's
yeah,
staying at school, so it's not like oh, it's okay, it's 1970s when waste was our prerogative and food was like free.
yeah. Meat on somebody's wound is just such a weird concept in like a modern movie, in any movie, but like beyond that, do you think like putting a peas, like frozen peas on somebody's wound or something
Yeah,
like I think we can all do ice now. I think
like
we can make
peas were
that
like in
happen.
a pack. At least the peas would have been in a packet rather than
Yeah.
no, literally
Raw.
get this steak out, please.
Hey, I don't know. Maybe it has some sort of healing power that I am unaware of. That raw meat on a bruise. I don't know. Never
If you
tried it.
if you've been
So
thumped by a ghost specifically.
that's it. That must be it. Yeah.
So they've decided at this point, well, only one thing for it. You're going to have to go into the further to get your kid out because he's not going to be able to find his way back on his own. As you can see, we don't have much time basically because I've only managed to bin this demon off for a bit.
Yeah.
At this point, bearing in mind you've got one excellent kid, I think I would have sacked Dalton off.
You're like, I mean, he's already been in there for a long time, you know? He's probably comfortable in there.
Yeah, I mean, to be fair, what you might want to do is like just if Mr. Insidious has already shown his hand, it's probably not good to beat up your comatose son, but you'd like break his legs or something like that. So and then trick him. Okay, you can have him, and then when he gets up, he just falls over, and you're like, "Ha, got you."
There you go.
You've got now you've possessed a dud, so now you're gonna have to.
Now you're stuck in it.
Yeah.
Yeah. You're stuck
Okay,
there.
if you're not gonna break his legs, you could just like I don't know, like tie him up, like just trap him somewhere, like put him in a sleeping bag that's really tight. So he's just like a little
So the
caterpillar.
demon, so in your scenario, this demon can like throw people across the rooms, but he can't get out of a really tight sleepy bag. Is
No,
that
really like
like
to like tie it up really tight and then like tie the cord. It's like, oh,
okay?
what am I gonna do?
Just trapped in there. Yeah. Yeah.
When you
I like that the
once
dad
you pulled it shut, you'll put some glue on the drawstring. It's this is wrecked. I'm stuck in
there's
it.
no way. There's no way he can get out. Yeah. But I like that the dad finally got to do something active. I feel like he wasn't really doing much in the movie, really. Like the mom was the one that was bearing the brunt of all of this and trying to
Oh,
get some action.
and of course
So
the first bit
finally,
he has an embarrassing moment, doesn't he? Because before we agree to the seance, after the big exposition scene, he like goes, "Hey, look, I'm sorry. I've been open minded. I've listened, and if I go along with this, you're going to ask me for $600 at some point, and that's not what I'm here for. So I'm afraid I
yeah,
don't believe you go out." And then he goes back to Dalton's room and walks immediately into like an orgy of evidence that like because
yeah,
Dalton's got loads of pictures of like
yeah,
last night I watched myself sleep and then I flew away and then it's a picture of a red door and then here's a picture of the
yeah,
spooky man. And it's like, oh for fuck's sake, he's
yeah.
definitely like
It's like fine, $600. Fine.
if you were Rosebud, you would never let him hit. They
Oh no.
literally just left. Could you
Yeah,
have not come and looked at these pictures and had this epiphany before you'd said no? He's
yeah,
gonna,
for sure.
there is a deleted scene where he has to phone them up and be like, how far away are you? And it's like, oh,
Yeah.
oh, it's okay. We hadn't eaten, so we just stopped at the McDonald's drive-through. Can you come back, please?
Yeah, yeah. She is a very patient wife to be putting up with him at this point,
Yeah.
with everything he's put her through. So I would be like, yeah, get in there, get in the further, go get our kid, do
Seriously.
something for once.
So he does that. Thankfully, it's a bit of cinema hypnosis. It literally takes just a second. And I would also argue that they're in not the most restful and relaxing situation to get into that state of mind, are they? It was like,
No.
just because there's a ticking noise, I'm not sure I'm going to be able to relax when I've literally just seen a man punched across a room by a demon less than 10 minutes ago.
Or that he would just be able to remember how to do it, having not done it for decades. Like it just he just did it pretty instantly, and
Sort
then
of
that was it.
accidentally, right? Because he gets up and goes, oh, for fuck's sake, I can't even. Oh, hang
Yeah.
on. No, I'm in the spirit realm now. So
Yeah.
Lynch does give him some advice, which he immediately fails. He goes, like, honestly, just be real chill in there. Just be normal. Don't let them know
Yeah.
that you're not a ghost.
Oh my gosh, what a dum dum. And he like starts talking to people and asking people if they've seen Dalton. Like, what? Don't do that. It's obvious that you're a human and that you don't know, like, you don't belong.
He's got
And
like
he's
a
making
little. He's got like a
noise.
little, like a lantern. He's just shining it around, going
Oh
around there,
gosh.
immediately sticking out like a sore thumb.
Oh yes, for sure. For
Just
sure.
walk
Yeah.
around eerily and silently, like all
Yes.
those ghosts. It's not that hard. They're not like they haven't got like passwords or anything like that. They're not doing like a secret ghosty handshake that
Yeah.
you've got to learn.
Yeah, he didn't do a good job of blending it at
So
all.
basically,
No.
just walk around creepily and silently, which is perfect for just searching for someone.
Yeah.
You
Yeah.
could have
He
done
fit
that without
perfect.
much effort. Like all you have to do is not try and engage people in conversation.
I know. Like they're just not paying much attention to the rules. So yeah.
Literally
But he
every
ends
time
up,
he sees
yeah.
anyone, like he sees like a creepy woman float by and he's like, "Excuse me."
Yeah. Like what? What? Don't do that. Don't do that.
Yeah, the set every time you get anyone, it's like, "Excuse me, have you seen my son? Because we're from the human." What? Shut up! Shut
I
up!
know. Like
And
if they
then,
give you one rule and you've already not followed it.
he is there's a ghosty family that are just watching the TV. Um, they do the classic ghosty thing. There's that family's obviously been shot by another family member. They do some reenactment of the spooky event
Yeah.
that took them to the spirit world.
Yeah.
But they don't seem to be perturbed. They're still watching their stories.
No, they're just, stuck in that cycle, it seems like.
Yeah,
So they're just, living their further life.
yeah. Even with the Patrick Wilson like sticking his face right in their face, like
Oh my
hello.
gosh, I know. Like, why are you doing that? What? I mean,
Yes.
not very smart. Not
Like, they
very smart.
clearly don't know where your kid is.
I know. I
Like,
know.
look for the like if he's with anyone, he's with that big red bloke who's really distinctive. Look for him.
Yeah, right. There's really only one of them, so just try to find him. Yeah.
And then he does catch a break though, having asked literally every ghost he's come across. Um, he goes, oh, red door from his pictures. Let's nip in there. Um, Dalton's in there. He's quite ineffectively chained up, chains that are very easy just to get out of. But
Yeah.
Mr. Insidious is there doing he's doing some crafts and listening to his music.
He is doing crafts, isn't he? He's like making dolls or something creepy.
He's making dollies, he's making a Freddy Krueger glove,
Yeah,
but
very
quite a bejeweled
strange.
one. It's like a
Yeah, I
golden.
mean, everybody needs hobbies, so I guess he's de-stressing, just
And
waiting.
he lives in the timeless further where you've got unlimited time for hobbies because time doesn't really function there.
Yeah, yeah. So
Finally, tell you what, the further's not so bad. Finally, get some time to your bloody self. Get some time to
yeah,
think.
get to time to do some sewing. He was rocking that sewing machine. He knew how to use it.
And
Yeah,
he's got his music on. He is having his best. I bet you look at Mr. Insidious. You look on his Netflix queue, empty. He's done it. He's had time to watch. He's had time to watch them all.
yeah.
No
Yep, and
wonder.
poor Dalton's there just tied up, chained, very easily chained. It seemed like he got out of it very quickly once the
Because
dad was there to
yeah,
open it
it's
up
like,
and
oh,
let him out.
I'm all trained. Oh, before he gets in there though, he does fight with the leather jacket man
Oh
outside
yes,
the thing, and
the leather jacket
he
man.
is
Yes.
absolutely copping some shit off him. He's being like tossed around, manhandled. But some advice from Lin Shaye is just, oh, you're stronger than them. They're actually because you're alive
You're
and
human.
you're
Yeah,
you're alive and they're dead, so they can suck shit. And so he just gives him a
that's
big
it.
push.
Yeah, that's all it takes.
Gives him a big shove, and that guy ricochets off like a pinball into oblivion. Um,
Yeah.
he doesn't use that power again. Like if
No,
that's
sure
all it
doesn't.
took, I would
Yeah.
have I would have taken on that confidence and be, oh, so I'm the best here, right?
Yeah, I feel like he definitely could have fought the demon and won,
I would have
but
rocked into that. Oh, I don't know if you've heard this actually. Reliably informed that I'm stronger than you here because I'm alive and you're dead. So taking my kid.
yeah, exactly. Like I feel like that's where it should have gone, but I guess that would have ended the movie a little too soon.
Yeah, he couldn't. He only had a certain amount of self belief, and he wasn't going to do that.
Yeah,
So
that's right.
while he's unlocking Dalton's like, oh, I hate to break this to you, Dad, but I'm afraid Mr. Insidious has spotted us, and Mr. Insidious is just like watching back down from his balcony, and is like, he's kind of like, to describe Mr. Insidious's house, it's kind of like a the olden days like factory where like, and he's like in the foreman's office.
Yeah, yeah. And he is like pressed up against that glass with his hand up, like he is full on being creepy about watching them. Yeah.
Yeah, he hasn't like set off an alarm or anything, but like, he's just, hang on a minute,
Yeah.
you're not from round here, are you? And he gets amongst it, and they have to just run. But despite the further not appearing as that much of a complicated place, unfortunately, they are slightly lost there as they
Yeah, in the dark.
try to find their way back. Meanwhile, back at home, everyone's there. Rose Byrne is up there saying, "Hey, follow my voices." You should have really established how to get back as a
That's
plan
what really
earlier.
got, yeah, like if you were in a bunch of darkness, right, and you just hear a sound, I don't think I could pinpoint where that sound would be coming from.
I'm not an
You feel like
owl.
you're very
Can't
disoriented. Like how would I know if it's right or left or whatever, you know? But
yeah,
somehow he manages, so good for
but
him.
all the ghosts are amongst it at this point. They're like, obviously, his poor performance at showing that they're not from the
Yeah.
further.
Shocking that they've
Yeah.
realized he's human.
If you're going to talk to them at all, you should have been, oh, another day in the further, eh? The same
Yeah.
sort of time as everyone. Oh, but of course, time doesn't exist here, how it is.
Yeah, he's doing a terrible job of blending in.
Yeah, so he's,
Yeah.
he's really poorly done it. So now all the ghosts are after them. Um, they're kind of getting back to the house, back in the real world. The team splits up. They send the grandma and Leigh Whannell go to look at Dalton, and
That's right.
there's
Yeah.
ghosties trying to get into the room. Meanwhile, the other assistant and Lin Shaye are having to shine the light. They shine lights on them to, I guess, highlight them so they can find their way back quickly.
Is that okay. I mean, I'll accept that. I didn't know why we were shining light on him because I thought the voice was what was going to be keeping him to go back
They
to.
haven't thought it through. They just like try anything, shine a light on him.
That's
Um,
fine. It worked.
and all the ghosts are trying to get in there now. They're throwing things all over the place. Patrick Wilson now fine meets his old mate just as he's almost getting back. They get
Oh my gosh,
split up from
yes.
Dalton. A lot of things are going on, and then the last thing you want is that bloody ghost that was trying to get his body earlier. Then she turns up.
And he stops to have a chit chat. Like, this is not the time to be reliving childhood drama. You got to get back into your body. Like, what are you doing?
And it's her, and
But he stops.
it's like, oh, I know you. Fuck you, actually. I hate you. You're the worst.
It's like, we can do this a different time. We don't have to do this right now. I mean,
You'd pretend not to know her. I think that's
yeah,
the
I mean,
ultimate diss. You'd be like, oh, sorry, I met you before. She'd be like, I haunted you quite severely, actually. And be like,
did
no,
you?
feels like that's something I'd remember.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah,
Um,
but he has to have his moment of confronting his past and saying he's not afraid.
yeah, it's like boo, I'm not. Yeah, it's like boo, I'm not afraid anymore. Um, and then it all comes to and Mr. Insidious is like probably the one moment of the film that I felt the CGI kind of slipped for me a bit here when the Mr. Insidious is like stomping down the wall and leaving like footprints in the wall now as
Yeah.
he's punching his way through. That's the one that's dated a little bit. Everything else holds up reasonably well.
Yeah.
Because most of it's just practical effects, people in spooky makeup and in like, but when you actually have to have a figure walking across a wall, then
Yeah.
it's a little bit Resident Evil.
Yeah, it was a little bit. Yeah.
But we do okay. We've done okay to
Yeah.
this point, and before you know it, Dalton is awake. Everything is settled. Um,
Oh,
Patrick
yeah, everything looks good.
Patrick Wilson's back up and about. They're like, oh, thank goodness. Uh, Rose Byrne, so Renee is saying that you're never going to sleep again, actually, because you've had your quota of sleep effectively.
Yeah,
So now I'm keeping you awake forever.
exactly.
But it's all good. And meanwhile, in the kitchen, then Shay's just packing up. The guys have gone back to the car and said, "No, we're going to release a book about this." The one guy's like, "The pictures are going to be the best bit."
Yeah,
No, I think you find the words are going to be the best bit.
exactly.
Um, and then just as she's going to put things away, Lynn kind of pauses as she goes to she takes something off him and sort of pauses for a second. So what's up? No, nothing actually. Nothing. But then unfortunately shows a hand by quickly flash. If only this film had come out a couple of years later where they didn't have digital cameras anymore, but she was just doing it on her phone.
Yeah, right.
She could have got away with this.
I just think this is something in movies in general that just always kind of rubs me the wrong way is like when you let the villain know that you know their secret
Yeah.
and you don't have a plan. Like did she suspected it? Like maybe don't take that picture right there. When
When,
you're
when,
alone with it and you don't have any weapons to defend yourself and you don't have a plan on what you're going to do next.
just wait. Yeah,
Like
wait till this back's turned at least.
yeah, maybe just wait a little bit, tell the wife, get the wife out of there, get Dalton out of there, and then we'll address that problem.
Or at
So
least flash a picture of him when you've got I don't know, like a hammer or something.
yeah, exactly. Like she just had no plan, nothing to defend herself with, and she knew that it was a ghost. So it's like, well, I mean, why would you show your hand to the villain without some sort of backup to help
And
you out?
commitment though, because the villain does come at it from an angle that she's angry. From Josh's point of view, he's like, I hate having my bloody photo taken,
Yeah,
actually. And he strangles her to death effectively. So unfortunately, we do lose her here. So Elise, I've been calling her Lynn Shay, the actor's name the whole thing, but the character's name is Elise. So Elise gets strangled away by Josh. And you sort of hear slight commotion. Dalton's fucking filling his boots with spaghetti. He's just eating some
oh yeah,
pasta.
he's
Having
downing that spaghetti.
yeah,
Yes,
he's necking some bolognese, which is
yes.
yeah, mom. Just keep an eye on my kid a second. Sticks the head round, finds that finds like Elise is just dead in the chair,
Yep,
strangled.
yep.
And her husband says, "Oh, I'm here actually." He offers no explanation as to why this woman's dead. But she looks at the camera, and we see as the film ends that we see back what happened with Elise. She sees that we saw he had a ghostly hand, and then we see the picture, which is horrible, horrible ghost woman. She's only gone and nicked his body.
Yep. That's
So
right.
now,
And that's
so
it.
now he's stuck in the further.
Yeah.
Yeah, Sorry, Nico. What I did there was with the film we chose, and I've cursed you to having an immediate cliffhanger.
And well, I'm guessing that somehow she survives since, I mean, her name pops up, Rose Byrne pops up. I imagine, I think I've seen her name on casts in further Insidious. So somehow I think something, I don't know how she can reconcile that, but she's alive, I
She's
think.
just like,
And that's it. Yeah.
yeah.
But it looks
Elise is
great.
in
Yeah.
part two, unless it's flashback heavy. I think I've seen Insidious 2, but I don't remember what happens. I'm gonna have to go and watch it. I can only imagine that what happens now is that they have to bloody get the horrible old woman out of him.
Yeah. I mean, that makes sense. So, and I guess since we know he's in the one that's coming out, I guess they do a good job.
Yeah.
That would be my prediction.
You'll never guess what the big thing for Insidious Chapter 2.
Oh no. What?
I
Oh, does
mean,
the brother, does the middle brother gets his day in the spotlight?
the middle brother is in it. Foster Lambert, aka Andrew Astor, he is in the second one.
Yay!
I'm gonna see which one. Hang on.
He's gonna get his moment to shine.
He's also in Insidious the Red Door 2023. So
Oh.
so the brother is in it. Yes.
That's good. I'm glad that he's getting back.
I don't want anything scary to happen to him. I just want it to be about him continuing to have a fairly normal life.
Yes, for sure. That would be amazing.
Yeah, he's there. He's amongst it. He's not in very much though, unfortunately. Andrew Astor of the normal brother from this film, apart from Insidious 1, 2, and the new one, The Red Door, you can also see him. I mean, if you ever want to get on your letterbox and complete an actor's filmography, he's only in 7 films. He's also in The Hangover. He's in Weird, the Weird Al Yankovic story.
Oh,
The 7 year Hitch,
okay.
and finally Santa Buddies.
Oh, okay. All right. Well, I
The
mean,
buddies in question appear to be Labradors, so that looks like a delight. That's the kind of that's the kind of adventures that Foster deserves.
yes.
Just a nice time with some dogs at Christmas.
Oh my gosh, I agree.
Right.
Wow. Well, that's good to know.
Before we rate the movie, it's time for a famous section of the show. Nice bit of the name game, whereby, if you've not listened before, Nico, we take the synopsis of a film that sounds ever so similar to Insidious, and the film will be ever so subtly different to the plot of Insidious, and the title, conveniently as it would happen, will rhyme with it. Will rhyme with Insidious as well.
Okay.
We've said this to a couple of guests in the past before. It is a fictional film. I've not been so gifted that this also is a real film that exists. None of these films exist, as far as I'm aware. But the title will sound a little bit like Insidious. So, are you ready for a little game?
I'm ready.
Right, here we go. So, okay, the main synopsis of Insidious that I'm going to riff on is a family discovers that dark spirits have invaded their home after their son inexplicably falls into an endless sleep. So, in this film, a family discover that really sort of judgmental spirits about people's opinion, about people's appearance, have moved into their home when they begin to have experiences where these ghosts just really slag off the lower jaw of the family members. They're really getting at them, saying that their lower jaws in particular are really unattractive.
Okay. Yeah. Yep. It is it's Insidious ingenious.
Very good. It was a 2-word answer I went for. The answer I was looking for in this case was chin hideous.
Ah, there we go.
That's what those ghosts have been up to.
Nice.
Um, okay. So a family discover that sinister spirits are haunting their house, the only way to find themselves, to rid themselves of them, is by offering a clear drinkable spirit to the protagonist of 80 Days Around the World.
Oh dear. In you said in
So they offer
beer.
they offer the
Yeah.
drink a clear, like a clear
Oh,
spirit to drink.
the-
It doesn't care for whiskey or even a vodka. It's like botanicals though in its drinks.
sure. In Gin James Tia.
It's gin, yeah. So, and then depends how much Jules Verne you read, I imagine.
Oh, okay. I did not.
So the way they free themselves from the ghosts here is by going gin Phileas. Is
There we go. Okay. I'm rocking at this. I'm just nailing it.
okay. I have one more. I
I
will
got
own
this.
the fact that that Insidious is a hard one to rhyme. So, if you came along to a real basic film like, now I can't think of any examples, but sometimes it's a lot easier than this. But I've got one more.
I got this.
Um, Outraged by his poor staff management, the employees of the Galactic Empire from Star Wars start
Oh
a
boy.
campaign to throw away the Emperor into the rubbish. What is the slogan that they might go for?
Oh boy. I don't know anything about Star Wars.
Well,
But I will say, in bin Star Wars,
it has been
Yoda
because they're
is.
throwing him in the rubbish, so they're binning him. That's right. The people of the Empire are encouraging you to bin Sidious because they've had enough of him.
Okay. Well done.
Woo! Yeah, that was a hard one to rhyme. Thank you for playing along at home, Nico.
Sure.
Also, I appreciate that a lot of these really rely on on British English. So you were fighting uphill.
Okay.
All that remains for us to do then is to rate the film. So we usually do it on a classic school scale, so A to F, pluses and minuses are allowed. What would you rate Insidious and why?
I would rate it a solid B. I think for like a jump scare movie, it was fun. It was entertaining. It startled me at times. It was a little silly and campy at times. So pretty solid, pretty enjoyable. Maybe not the best in the entire, universe of jump scares, but certainly not the worst, but better than average.
There
Solid
you
B.
go. Thank you very much. I'm gonna go a C plus for this one. I feel like James Wan, Leigh Whannell, Blumhouse, they've all gone on to do more things. This is a real template of what they would go on to do. I think reflecting on it, I think they've probably done more with what they put together with things like The Conjuring later. I think they perfected the formula here. And it does maybe lean a little heavily on the jump scares here, but it's not to say there aren't things to enjoy. I think there's some good imagery, and having seen this, I do now need to go on and watch the follow up to it. How long will I stick with the series for? We'll find out, but I'm at least in for another one. And I think now knowing that it's going back to this original tree, the original story in this new one, and also wanting to know what Foster's been getting up to, I'm going to be
Yeah.
back to see the latest as well. But yeah, lots to enjoy in this one. I think it's been outdone, but it's not without its merits.
Sure. I agree.
Cool. So in that case, before I get into the other closing statements that we'll make at the end of any other episode, remind us, Nico, where can people find you online should they wish to?
I am on all social media, TikTok, Twitter, Instagram, YouTube, and Substack at Nico Bell Fiction. All at Nico Bell Fiction.
Amazing. And remind us of the launch date of the book one more time.
So my novella Open House is going to be out June 15th.
June 15th. Get amongst it, guys. All that remains for me then is to thank a number of people, but first and foremost amongst those, the Patreons. Thank you for listening, everyone. And if you enjoy the show, you can become a Patreon over at patreon.com/horror hangout. Thank you to our existing Patreons. That include John Crinnan, patron against his will, Ben Scaife, Stephen Christopher, Laura Kendrick, Toby Miller, Pazuzu, Lane Spencer, Ollie Child, Leslie Carlo, Julia Bilgrin, Nick Spill, Troy Bursch, and Rosalind Tarnius. Thank you for Taj Easton for our theme music. Thanks to Acast for hosting the show. Please consider giving us a rating and review. Head over to Facebook group, the Horror Hangout Board of Advisors. You can find us on Twitter, Instagram, Facebook, TikTok, all of those places by just doing a search for Horror Hangout Podcast. You will find us there. You can join us again next week where we're going to be talking a double bill. We're going to do, once again, the original and remake, this time, of Prom Night, a slasher classic, alongside guest Danny Thomas. Ben will be back next week. I may or may not be here next week. I am off working in Miami, partying in the city where the heat is on. So if we can work out time zones, we'll all be there. But if not, Ben and Danny will be taking care of you. Thank you very much once again, Nico.
Thank you.
And bye for now, everybody. Bye.